The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hi, welcome to All About Kids. Children are fascinated with doll houses, dolls, and pop-up books. Patty Pickett of Putnam Publishing Company has combined all three in a series of books, the Peapod Kids. She spoke with Cindy Rudko in our studio recently.
Hello and welcome to All About Kids. Today we have Patty Pickett, who is the creator and innovator of a very different type of children's book. It's a series called Pop-Up Books. Patty, can you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, pop-up books, of course, have been around for, well, since the turn of the century. But with our modern day things that we have now, this is a new concept in pop-up books. It has a little character that goes with it, and they're called Clippies. Clip toys, in my research, have been around for about 15 years. They've been everything from little koala bears to Smurfs, Garfields, all the Snoopy characters. And essentially the idea came that we would put the clip toys into a pop-up book. So we created a home for the pop-up books. And when we talk about clip toys, it actually has a little action, like a clothespin action. Finding out that children actually, the little clip toys clipped onto their lapels. Driving down in a car, you would see them on rear view mirrors, and so the idea popped into my head, why not create a home for them? And this is how Peapod pop-ups happen to come into being.
They're really different. They're very fun books. Maybe you can describe a little bit this particular one that we've got open and show how they can work for kids.
Okay, the dollhouse, which is what we call a play environment, actually folds back up into an 8.5 by 11 book. And the little story that goes with this at the beginning as the child opens it up says, "This looks like a book till you open it wide. Wow, there's stairs to climb and places to hide, windows to look out and doors to go through." So essentially what it is it brings the children into this environment. And of course with the little clip-on dolls, they can clip on to the door. The dolls are such so that you can pose them. And a child really begins to interact. It's just amazing how their own creativity. In the dollhouse and also a tree fort that we've produced, which is the same concept, we've given them sticker artwork so that the children can actually move in and feel like this is their own environment.
What a great idea. Whoops, sorry. Are these some of the examples?
These are some of the sticker artwork so that each page has things to actually put in, and it's amazing when we watch children just like taking the balloons and having them go into the center. There's teddy bears, and they're such so that they can actually pose. The stickers right at the present moment are not color forms, so they don't move off and on. You can move them around, but once or twice moving, then of course it's time to leave them in place. But you can see you can take the teddy bear as if it's sitting down next to the little table.
What a great idea. Is there a story that goes along with this, or do the children invent a story?
There is a story that goes with it, and essentially the other clip toy that we've introduced is Big Ed. He becomes their friend. It's the friendly dog, of course. Every house needs a dog. And this has become one of the favorites for the children. I think because of the size, they can sort of squeeze the dog in their hand, and of course the paws, the front paws, are the clipping. So again, watching children and observing them, they not only put the dog in the proper place, but of course they clip him on the top of the roof or in any one of the things. All of the small areas where they can go from room to room in the house, the refrigerator, the stove, we have things that go into the refrigerator. It's a really wonderful teaching tool. The manual dexterity that this teaches for children is just amazing. You'll get a child who has very poor motor skills, just this exercise of clipping this, and then the eye motor skills as they learn to clip. We've observed with children when they're playing with this, after 2 or 3 weeks, they've really mastered all of the clipping skills. Then their imagination really takes over and they build all kinds of stories. And it's a wonderful take-along thing. Of course, you can fold it all back up, put it in your book bag, and take it off to Grandma's house or on a plane. Or wonderful for a child in the hospital, sick in bed.
Yes. A lot of play in a small area.
Right.
Is it suited to any particular age group?
Yes, recommended age 4 to 8. Anything younger than that, now like a 2-year-old certainly would identify with the little pop-up house, but they still don't have the skill to pinch the toys. And yet we certainly wouldn't want, a 2-year-old, if they want to play with it, parent supervision, and then about the time they're 4 to 5, they really know how to take care of a pop-up. They have the motor skills to go ahead and clip the dolls into the scene. And of course, by the time they're 6, 7, and 8, they're absolutely fascinated with the paper engineering. We're finding that the tree fort and the dollhouse even appeal on up to about age 12. The books with the storyline are really geared to that 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old.
Yes, this is one of the books that has a storyline. This is Uncle Peasley and the Peapod Kids. I read through this one and found it just a lot of fun. And also I read that you're interested in having kind of a little moral with each story, and this one also has a moral. Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about this one.
Well, as this book starts out, it's about Uncle Peasley trying to grow the biggest peapod vine the world would know. The more he fed it, the bigger it got, until it burst out of a flower pot. And of course, kids love adventure. And essentially, Uncle Peasley is the character that we're introducing with the Peapod Kids. And he is not a scary character, and yet he's somewhat of a fantasy character. He teaches the children, whether it's on child safety, whether it's on sharing and giving. On this particular story, as we go through, the vine leaves, does not want to be with Uncle Peasley, and becomes many things. So as it leaves, it goes into the pizza parlor next door. It drops into the spaghetti machine and comes out a million pieces of green. And of course, here is the spaghetti. And this wild vine, as it leaves the pizza parlor, and of course, on each set, they can play on the interior of the Pizza Hut or on the outside. And as the children notice that it's going, and it leaves the window and it crawls underneath the edge of a circus tent, they look up and down and much higher. Oh, it's become a green high wire. Hand over hand, they crawl after the stock, showing the crowd a new tightrope walk. So the writer collaborated with the paper engineer, and it actually encourages children to participate in this book. And of course, with children, they get very creative. They get these dolls climbing up the high wire. They get them. And of course, children love circuses.
Yes.
And it continues to go. And
Isn't
each
that fun?
play set, of course, the vine leaves again, and it goes up a ladder made of bright green rope. But it was too late. It was gone. Nothing was left but a patch of green lawn. So the vine continues to go on through. Then it goes along a fence that its barbs were leaves made no sense. But then all of this seemed rather odd, this chase after this errant peapod. The limericks is what children love. They love that little beat, that tempo. And it's very easy, even if the reading material is not, say, too advanced for them. Once they've had it read to them once or twice, children memorize immediately. And of course, after they begin to play in the book, you know what they do, the cow, and they can jump on the fence. The paper engineer tried to create as many clipping surfaces so that the children really can play on the set. And of course, with this story, as it continues to go, it finally stretches from pole to pole and becomes a telephone vine. It takes a call to a familiar face, to Uncle Peasley, who had started this chase. Over the phone and through the room it flew, wrapping itself around Peasley's shoe. It found its place. It was happy to be Peasley's shoelace. So it tells the children, but remember to always tie it tight, or it just might disappear out of sight. And of course, here the activity where they can tie the shoe, the butterfly pops up.
This was cute. I thought it was like a nice little surprise at the end.
Children love either the lift of flaps, some types of surprises.
And there's actually grommets on the shoe so that they can lace the shoe and tie it.
And even the artwork that's done in here, all of the characters, we notice with children, small children particularly, they begin to notice the ladybugs, the cats, all the things. All of the things in the pop-up panorama here were on the cover of the book, but the little cat was hiding behind something where all of a sudden the cat, the frog, all these things become a little bit more lifelike.
Isn't that fun? And I imagine as they get older, they can pick out more of those little details and appreciate them.
They sure do.
Patty, can you tell us a little bit about your background? This is a very unique idea and something that I don't think has been on the market. How did you get inspired by this?
Well, I self-published, and my background is not in publishing. My background is an interior designer. And oftentimes people will say, how in the world did an interior designer get involved in children's books? And I think probably from a design field, basically having the skills of putting something together, whether you're decorating someone's home or you're doing an office, you have an overall plan and you have a plan of attack of how you're going to do this. And I think this was essentially how I was able to put together. I came up with the idea and did the trademark as far as Peapod was concerned, meaning the little dolls, and then thought, why not have a story format with a pop-up? So hired a paper engineer who is an architect, a woman who actually has raised children. She had done some pop-up greeting cards for me as another idea, and so we were able to take some of those ideas and incorporate them into the book. Then found a writer that she could work with so they could collaborate my ideas and put it into rhyme. And the first book, which is called Peapod Pop-Up Book 1, took my case to Korea to have it manufactured. Tried to have it manufactured here in the U.S., but of course all the hand labor that is involved in a pop-up book. The first book has like 145 glue-down spots, so of course we just don't have the labor cost here. Most pop-up books are done in Cali, Colombia, South America. And so I thought, well, that's a little further away. I'll try Korea because I'd already been importing the clip-on dolls from Korea. So I went over and the first 2,500 copies I had produced as a test market, which is a pretty sizable test market when you start producing the books. And we sold out in 10 days in Seattle.
Isn't that exciting? And this was in the Seattle market?
Yes.
Did you find that there was a preference for the books for either boys or girls, or didn't it matter?
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It seems like our first customers was Grandma. I keep saying this was Grandma's bait.
Yes.
Grandmas are always out looking for something for their grandchildren. Then as the market began to spread, children would take these to show and tell, and then all of a sudden the teachers are involved. Here we have a book where the children are being quiet, they're playing in the book. Then a lot of our research and development, where we would do just one page of a spread before we ever produced it, take it to daycare centers, let children play with it, see where the stress points were in the pop-up. How well would it hold up?
I'm sure that's something that parents are very interested in.
Right.
I showed the book to my sister who has 3 children, and she thought it was a great idea. She had never seen anything like it. Her only comment was that she thought her daughter would love it because she's patient and has the skill to play with it, but the boys, she thought, would just fight over it and rip it apart. So it's good to know that you really considered construction and those kinds of points, to know that they are durable, that you feel comfortable that children of all ages can play with them and they will hold up.
We used actually a very heavy board, and only in Korea could they really do this. It's a 22-point board, which is much heavier than most pages. And actually when they print this, then it's bound to the board, so that it is very difficult to even rip it. Now all of the gluing tabs, in other words, where all of these things are glued down, we kept those exposed so that if a child happened to pop up a glue thing, you just put the glue on, fold it back up, and let it sit for a few minutes, and then it's repaired. So we did take into mind, our research proved out very well that parents that had bought pop-up books, that they had pull tabs in them, the most frustrating thing for a child is to pull that first pull tab, and then it no longer works anymore.
And those are much lighter paper. I can feel how heavy and how well these are made. Even the bottoms of them are very substantial.
Well, when a child is going to be playing in any of these environments, whether it be a storybook or a dollhouse, we want them to play. We want the play value to be there. And of course, even though the clip toys are quite lightweight, they still, if a child doesn't manipulate that right, and once that doll grabs on to a clipping surface, if they rip it off without releasing the clip things, so we had to keep in mind that it had to be sturdy enough so that if a child were to grab this doll away without opening up the arms first, that it would withstand the test, and it has.
Are the toys replaceable, Patty?
Yes, in fact, all of the clip toys. The one thing that we did, because clip toys have been on the market for many years, we've designed this to scale for all clip-on toys. Whether you've got Smurfs in your house or Garfields or any of the many characters, they're all 2.5 inch to scale, so all of these environments. And I will go and observe, and children will have all the clip-on toys involved in this whole thing, not only the Peapod Kids and our wonderful dog, Big Ed. We keep adding more characters, but the clip toys that they already have in their possession, they can put in.
That's a great idea. Then they can create their own play with the existing little stage.
Right.
They are very unique. I liked your point that they're well suited for a child who may be confined to a small space like a hospital bed. It gives them a lot of hours of play and fun in a small little area, or traveling in the car. It seems like it would be a very good play toy for that kind of area. Do you think that it's a good bridge for a parent and child for communication and for play because they've got a script more or less to act out?
Definitely, definitely. We now have speech pathologists that are working with children. It's amazing. Even as long as I've been doing this in research and development, I still, when I go out and demo, the best input that I have are the children, because as they begin to play, I'll hand out dolls to them and we'll open up a story. And pretty soon their own imagination takes over, and it's amazing how they begin to communicate not only with you, say as a parent, or as a grandma, or as a teacher, but their creativity really comes out. It's marvelous. I wish I had had this when I was raising my own family.
Yes, oh, it's a great idea. I would imagine too that coming from a design background, you talked about production and that there's a number of team people that are involved in it. You're also probably quite involved with the graphics and the coloring. With the stickers, you mentioned that they're all interfaced with the different areas in the rooms.
What we tried to do with the creative staff, we have, of course, lots of input meetings where we sit down and say, okay, I've come up with this great idea now. Paper engineer, can this happen? Writer, can you do this? Artist, can we coordinate this? And yet we want it to be today, things that relate to children today. It's like the tree fort, when we did the tree fort and picking the sticker artwork. We built the tree fort, took it out into the daycare centers, and let the children give us ideas of what they envisioned if they had built this tree fort. What would they want in it?
That's great.
And we came back with, we could have done 50 pages of sticker artwork, but we finally narrowed it down to children that were, say, imagining they were building the tree fort, so we did some sticker artwork that had to do with hammers and nails and saws. Then children envisioned getting up into a tree fort and start gazing up at the stars, so that we did some sticker artwork that had to do with stargazing. And then we did some things with plants and a butterfly net with all kinds of butterflies.
How fun. So all themes related.
All themes. And then we did an area in the tree fort where there's a little area, like a little clubhouse, where they can have a picnic. And so we did a picnic basket with some food and things so they can clip the dolls in there. And the children really were the ones that gave us the ideas, and then we narrowed it down. Because of the cost, we could only really do 3 pages of stickers. And it's still fascinating as I watch children thinking, you know, they're going to be using their own creativity of where they're going to put the stickers, not where I envision they should be. And children are pretty sharp, boy.
It sounds like fun both for you and for them.
Is.
Very inspiring. Would you have any advice for other people who have ideas for this kind of thing, how to get started? You're now a vice president at Putnam Books.
Yes.
That's a long way from what you were doing probably 20 years ago, and yet you've got a wonderful product to offer.
Tremendous. You know, there are so many marvelous ideas out there, and oftentimes people give up that last straw, so to speak. And I certainly have horror stories to tell as we went along with this project. There's never enough money for production, for research and development, and yet sheer determination. And I knew that I had a good product, and I think probably being able to stay on the lighter side, always touching base with children, realizing they love it. Eventually I'll get this marketed, And protecting your own idea. The first advice that I tell anybody, and I do a lot of speaking now of, say, people that are either writing or whether they have somewhat of a unique idea, is spend that first 100, 200, 300 on a good patent attorney. Go see where you might go to protect that idea. Even if you don't self-publish, if you more or less protect a trademark or an idea, then you can move from there. And I was one of the fortunate ones as I began to struggle to get out there, and then all of a sudden there were more units sold than what we could possibly manufacture. And then, of course, we enticed, pretty soon the publishing houses are hearing about Peapod through some of the bookstores and saying, who's producing Peapod?
Yes.
Where is this?
Where can we get it?
Where is this person?
Yes.
And so we were able to, essentially we did a distribution agreement. And then when they were talking about the numbers for distributing, I go back to, by that time I had sold some stock in the company that I had, corporation that I had started, and said, they're talking about fairly large numbers. Where are we going to get the money for this?
Yes.
And so we were finally able to put together a deal where I essentially sold all the rights to what I had started, bought myself a job, and yet still hung on to the creative part of it. And of course the royalties will go on probably long after I'm dead and gone.
It's nice to know that you're still involved with the creative part of it, because I can see that there is so much of you in these books.
Right.
There are a series, are there 5 books currently?
There actually are 4 that are currently now out on the market, which is Peapod Pop-Up Book 1, which is like the pre-primer. It actually is familiar environments. It starts out like in the little Peapod house, and then it goes off to school where the schoolroom pops up. Then it's out on the playground at recess time, teeters to totter and bars to climb. So again, that rhyming there, and then the school bus, an ice cream parlor, and we actually have a rock band that pops up and the children clip onto all the instruments. Then of course Uncle Peasley and the Peapod Kids is the second book, and then 2 play environments, Peapod Dollhouse and the Tree Fort. In the fall of '88 we have 3 more coming out. We have a story on sharing and giving, where children learn that it's much better to give than receive. And it's a wonderful Christmas story.
Oh, isn't that
It's
wonderful?
just incredible. And then we have The Adventures of the Peapod Kids, which is a safety book. And it's just essentially the Peapod Kids go on an adventure in their own town. They learn about the crosswalks, they learn about water safety, they learn about going in the park after dark. What we try to do is not make it scary, but fun, and yet reinforcing as they go along. We've also done one where they get lost in the grocery store. It's a wonderful pop-up grocery store.
It's happened to all children, I'm sure.
As they get rather frightened. And then, of course, they find the friendly policeman who takes them home. We have a wonderful pop-up police car, and the little home with the picket fence as they safely arrive back home.
Yes.
And then, of course, the last title is The Little Engine That Could, which is a Putnam property, and that is in the same format so that the children can, the famous story, they can experience each one of those pages as they pop up, and then of course the clip toys will be the clown, the monkey, and the little girl.
Sounds wonderful.
So we're real thrilled about it.
And when is the Little Engine That Could coming out?
In the fall of '88.
Okay. Do you know where that would be available in the Twin Cities?
Probably all of your major department stores, bookstores, I'm sure all of your B. Daltons and Walden Books. And because we've done a lot of marketing here in the Twin Cities in a lot of your specialty shops here, I'm sure the gift stores, where Grandma always goes to shop,
Yes.
whether we have several stores. Kids Stuff is certainly a store that I'm going to be appearing in, doing some signings with the books.
Good. I'm sure they'll be getting a lot of calls. I understand that the books are all the same size and the same price.
Same price, right.
Which is
$19.95.
$19.95.
And it's actually like a $12 book, and then they get the 3 clip dolls with them, so the value is really there. And we've kept everything the same size, an 8.5 by 11, so hopefully as they collect the Peapod books, they can all go on the shelf.
Well, it's a wonderful book, Patty. I'm sure it's brought a lot of happiness and fun to many homes. Thank you for joining us today. Patty Pickett with the Peapod Kid Pop-Up Books. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kate Myron. Hi, my name is Megan Mesrick. And we're both 8. This is a book called Peapod Kids. and has lots of fun things to do, and it's real imagination. It has real imagination in it. I like it because it's a lot to play with, and you can really move around in it. This is a pizza parlor. They can open doors and go in and out and sit down and have a drink of milk in it. It's really fun to play with. It's really fun to play in too.
Today's special guest reviewers, Meg Messerich and Katie Nyland from Christ the King School, telling us why they like the Peapod books.
In this mystery, the butler didn't do it. In fact, Piggins, the butler, turns out to be the one who solves the mystery. Mr. and Mrs. Renard, some foxes, are having a dinner party to announce their intention to sell the lady fox's beautiful diamond lavalier necklace. They feel they must sell it because there appears to be a curse on it. As the guests arrive, Piggins, the butler, lets them in. Inspector Bayswater, a hound in a Sherlock Holmes outfit, arrives with his friend, Professor T. Ortis. Lord and Lady Ratsby enter after arguing with their carriage driver over the fare. Pierre Lapin and his 3 unmarried rabbit sisters arrive in their motor car. Well, all go into the dining room when Piggins announces that dinner is served. Mr. Renard tells everyone of the impending sale of the lavalier and its curse, and suddenly the lights go out. Well, when the lights come on again and order is restored, the necklace is missing. Lady Ratsby says, "Oh, perhaps the butler did it." Inspector Bayswater searches the room, and he finds a red thread near the door, crumbs of cheese on the table, a bit of dirt on the floor, but not the diamond lavalier. Piggins carefully restates the clues and also mentions the tinkling sound that was heard while the lights were off and the scream that preceded turning them on. From these clues and one red herring that Piggins explains away somewhat embarrassedly, the pig butler is able to solve this mystery. Piggins is a mystery that would be enjoyed by children in grades 2 and 3 and could be read to younger children as well. I think the adults reading the story to the children will also enjoy the illustrations, which are quite nicely designed. The book opens with a scene of Piggins going trit-trot up the stairs with the pot of tea for the dinner party. Next, we see a dollhouse-like scene of all the activity in the house before the party. The pictures during the story illustrate the action, and again we conclude with another dollhouse-like scene of the house shutting down for the night and Piggins coming trit-trot down the stairs with the teapot to have his own cup of tea after a satisfying day.
Piggins by Jane Yolen, reviewed by Laura Krentz, Children's Services Librarian at the Southdale Library in Edina. Thanks for joining us on All About Kids. Tune in again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library. in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency. We thank you for watching, and we hope you visit your public library often.